Hey guys, how's it going? In this video, my goal is simple. I want to help you set up Claude computer use beta in your computer. Now, it's been a while since they announced this and a lot of things have evolved since then, but I realized that I haven't probably done a video on how to set this up locally and a lot of people asked how they can. So here's the video for you guys. And note that I'm going to be using the pre-setup demo by Claude itself. I'm not going to creating anything new from scratch, but rather I'll reuse what Claude has already created demo wise, and I'm going to walk you through the documentation itself. So in a way, this is Claude's own AI agent that essentially allows you to automatically do certain tasks. Let me see if I can pull up the demo that the Claude team did show us a few months back. Alright, so if we open this,
Should I choose DevOps?
so this is the demo they rolled out a few months back. Let's watch it.
Researchers here at Anthropic. Computer use is something that we felt was going to be important for a while now. And so today we're going to be talking about a very early version we have of computer use and walking through a representative example of the things we think it's going to be useful for. In this case, the Ant Equipment Company has come to us and scattered in various places on my computer. What we're going to do is ask Claude to look at the spreadsheet, check if Ant Equipment.
Now note that the demo itself, they are showing in the Mac version right now, but the actual demo that we are going to be running is on a virtual computer, which the Claude team has created for us to play around with. But a lot of the things that they've created during that demo itself can be reused in your own application scenarios when you start building Claude for your own use case itself.
Is in there, and if not, move over to the CRM and try and find some more information there. Once it has this data, Claude's going to then fill out the form for us and hopefully transfer the information across to the vendor form. The first thing that's going to happen is Claude's going to start taking screenshots of my screen and quickly realizes that the Ant Equipment Company isn't actually in the spreadsheet. So the first thing it does is it swaps over to a CRM and searches for the company we're interested in. Luckily, we get a search match and Claude then starts scrolling through the page looking for all the information it needs to fill out this form.
So at this point, you understand what Claude computer use really does. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk you through some of the documentation and then we'll actually go through the demo page. It's super easy to set up. All you need is Docker, and if you're a developer, you probably know what Docker already is. It's a way to skip all the hard steps that you would typically use or need in order to set up a software. So I'm going to be using Docker, and there are other ways to do it as well. So if you're using Amazon Bedrock or similar services, they've given instructions for that as well. Essentially, the agent itself has flows like this, right? So provide Claude with computer use tools. Now these tools include things like desktop use, the text editor, and the bash terminal. Then Claude itself decides to use the tool based on the task you assign it to do. It extracts the tool input, evaluates the tool on a computer, and returns the results. Now these are the results that decide what happens next. And in a way, it kind of runs the whole process in the loop. So let's say take a screenshot of it identifies where on the web page is the button that it needs to click. So that is one loop. In the second loop, it's going to take the screenshot and give it as the input to the next step, who will then identify what action to take from that point on. And this is how it essentially works. So let's say if you would want Claude to log on to a website, which it does not do right now, what it can effectively do is take your username, take your password in the first step, second step, and then plug those details in as it goes through. Maybe it can take both of these details at once, but the idea is that it needs to identify where the coordinates are in order to put those details on the web page. So either ways, this is how it kind of works. It kind of runs the whole thing in the loop, and if you watch the demo closely, this is what it does as well. So it kind of captured all of these details on the web page, and now what it's going to do, it's going to fill the form for us.
Claude then autonomously starts transferring the information across without me having to do anything.
So again, as you notice that it's going one field after the other, and it's not necessarily going to do like all the fields at once. It kind of takes a while, and it's actually way slower than humans right now. Maybe in the future, when it's able to handle multiple data points and add them together at once, then that is a very interesting use case. At this point of time, like I said, it goes one step at a time. Either way, so how do you use it? In scenarios where you want to run like a simple code, what you can essentially do is, or before we go to the code itself, like I said, there are three tools. There's the computer tool, the text editor, and the bash tool. The computer tool actually takes these screenshots and executes tasks from what it sees on the screen. The text editor tool kind of looks at the data for reference only. So for example, it's going to make certain notes to execute before it moves to the final result. Those are the kind of things that text text tool essentially does, and it kind of writes commands in those tools that it needs to run. And then there is the bash tool, which essentially executes Python scripts in scenarios where you want to do that as well. So again, there are certain limitations with this as well. There's the latency issue where it's actually very slow and it's human directed right now. The computer vision and accuracy is not very reliable. Tool selection and accuracy are not very reliable. A bunch of these different issues that you would face from something that is in beta, and this is currently in beta. The pricing is here. So for the new model, it's going to charge you based on the tokens, just like it does for the API. So keep that in mind as you use the tool itself. They've given a sample here, and I think there's one more sample up here, which is a very simple implementation of Claude, Anthropic's Claude computer use. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to create a new file here that basically says Anthropic demo.py. Now in here, it expects you to have a Claude environment variable key, which is mandatory in this case because you're going to be using your environment variable in order to run this code. In order to get your API key, you need to go to Claude computer use API, or you can just do key Claude or Anthropic, right? And in this case, go to getting started here, go to the console, and then in here, you will be able to find your API key, which you can use in order to test the computer use functionality. So I'm going to be putting this key here and I'm going to press enter, which will essentially set the variable environment variable for us. I'm going to clear this and I'm going to try running this. I don't know if it exported the API key correctly, so I hope it did. And if it didn't, we'll probably have to do something else. So right now, based on the demo itself, it does not have access to do this. And what we will have to do is essentially run it in a loop, like I said, in order to get, for that, I'm going to actually open up the demo account that I have. I'm going to show you how that works, right? So you can see there's a GitHub repo where they've actually created a demo for their use case, and there are multiple ways to run it, right? So the first way is to use Docker container, which is what we're going to be doing. And for this, you will need Docker installed in your computer because it will kind of containerize the whole thing. So if you're not familiar with Docker, what it will do is before you run any application or Python script, you need to do a bunch of these setup steps in order to reach a point where you can run that code. Now this Docker kind of does all of these things for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. And Claude has created one for us, the image Docker image for us. All we need to do is copy this command and open our terminal in case we are on Mac, or open CMD in case we are on Windows. And I'm going to be copying the command that I have with my API key, and I'm going to press enter. So yeah, for this, you will need Docker running in the background. If Docker is not running, it's going to crash. If you're on Mac, you should see something like this if it's running. And once this is here, you can actually run this. And because I already have this installed, it should not take very, very long to run this. Initially, it took a few minutes because it did download a few things from the internet, but it should not take very long now. So it runs on something called Streamlit, which is something that allows or builds a UI for Python applications. Now you can see on the right side here, it looks like a very simple version of a Linux computer. It has a bunch of these different things that you can't interact with, but Claude will be able to. So I'm going to go ahead and type my message here. Can you go to Instagram, or rather something that is open source? Can you look up what people are saying about Ollie.social on Reddit? So what this is going to do is essentially take one step at a time and then actually open, I think, the Chrome browser in order to look for details, right? So it did open the Chrome browser. Now it's taking screenshot of every step. Depending on the screenshot, it kind of decides where to take the next action. So you can see this is the this is where it kind of decides where to click. So this is the coordinate where it clicks, and it types these details in here. So site.com, ollie.social, and then it's looking up few details, right? So it's scouring the internet in a way, and it was able to find these details, right? So Ollie Social was mentioned in a discussion about AI tools for social media, AI tools changing the game in social media. And then there was also copywriting where the thread had 50 plus comments discussing various tools for content generation. And then it keeps on going, right? So it's going to look up multiple resources as it needs. It's going to scroll. It's going to look up multiple Reddit posts in order to get the data that we want. All right. So this is how it kind of works. Now I don't have a, Excel file stored inside of this. So I don't know if I can pull off what we saw in the demo itself, but if you look at this GitHub repo, it kind of builds out all the small pieces that we would need in order to build something like this for ourselves. Now here we are actually leveraging a virtual computer But using this, you can build your own loop. You can build your own agentic system in order to automate certain. Personally, I've been exploring if I can use this computer use plus Ollie in order to automate a lot of social media engagement, and I'll keep you guys posted on how that goes. If you guys are interested in knowing about that, please feel free to drop comments below the video and I'll prioritize this for you guys. You can also put it in the Q&A section if you guys have that at your access. Either ways, I think this is all for the video, guys. I hope you were able to run this yourself as well. And thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the next one.